So this is a preemptive look at what we're going to see on our power bill. I don't actually have the bill yet. There are fees, delivery fees, maintenance fees, whatever, that are going to be added, and tax that are going to be added to the bill at the end of the month. But this is a pretty good estimate. So this is our usage totaled up by day for the full month. This is our entire billing cycle, January. Oh, you know what? This is January. Well, hold on. I've messed up here. How is this 2929? Okay, I'll come back. Okay, well, so what happened that threw me off? Oh, okay, I was typing apparently. What happened that threw me off was the website showed for the 7th there was no data yet, which that's obvious. I'll get that later today, because today being the 8th. But no data for the 7th. But when I went to the bill cycle page, it had every day filled out, and it said it was like 50 kilowatt hour, and I was like, oh. So it's already got it. It just doesn't know the hour by hour. So I was like, perfect. So I downloaded it, and then mid video there, as you just seen, I realized that it was the February bill cycle and not the March bill cycle. So, or the January, not the February. I don't know. So we still don't have data for the 7th. That was not accurate. That was last bill cycle's last day of the month, 7th. So if we look at the average usage throughout the month, it was 100 kilowatt hours. So we can just make a guess and say that it's going to be 100. It will change. But the rest of this is accurate. And I made all this just for the purpose of talking about it. So total usage was 2790 ish, because we're guessing on this last 100. We do know we're at 2690 for the rest of the bill cycle, just not the final day. I honestly think it'll be less than this, but I like to shoot a little high. So total usage at our old power rate would have been about $320.85 for the month. There are taxes, fees, other things they're going to add, so probably closer to $350 in that case. We did use 1,024 kilowatt hour on the Cybertruck, 379 on my new Model Y, and 68 on the old Model Y. There's the cost breakdown, being they mostly charged during non-peak hours. We could probably bump this down to just say 1.9, because I did get about 5. Let's just say 6. 6 kilowatt hour on the not off peak, I guess you'd say. I needed to use the truck, and so I let it charge a little extra, and it may actually have been more than that, but we'll go with that number. So as I change this, the rest of the numbers automatically update. It's all set up that way. $4.68 for my old Model Y this month. Yeah. Total amount charging 1,465 kilowatt hour, about $100. And then our non-charging usage came out to 1,325. I estimate about 10 kilowatt hour for off peak. We did really good this month about keeping off peak to a minimum, so about $2 there. That leaves about $125 worth of just completely remaining. So that breaks down here, $2 on peak, $100 for charging, and then $125 for remaining. Again, these numbers aren't 100%. They will likely change. Hopefully, Duke Energy will give me a breakdown of, each day like you seen earlier, but also show me, peak, off peak, super off peak, those sort of things, so I can get the actual breakdown of how it came. But this is my estimation, 228.45 with some wiggle room. Beats the hell out of 320, I'll tell you that. almost $100 savings for the month. Yeah. So we will get this hopefully later today, just the usage breakdown. I still don't know what's peak, what's off peak, what's super off peak. But when the bill comes, that should be all together on that. So we will delay the rest of this video until I get that information, probably around the 15th or so. Because I do want to break it down and see what the actual cost is and what the actual usage is compared to what I guesstimated here. I do know that we spent $1,024 charging the truck, but like I say, some of those actually, hold the horses. On the app, it will let you see how many kilowatt hour was used. 47 kilowatt hour was used on non-super off peak. So only 910, 910 were on super on peak. Or super off peak. You know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. So that changed a little. 231 is now the estimate. And I didn't charge the truck at all during super peak. I don't do that. We did have a super peak day, by the way. And I didn't figure that into this. One day this past month. And I think we ended up using maybe 2 kilowatt hour, if maybe 1.5. But that was billed at like 43 cents instead of the usual 20 cents. So that will probably make a very negligible change. So that'd be my guess, 231-ish, plus fees and taxes. We'll go through that when the bill comes, but let's see how far we are off. I mean, we know that these numbers are accurate. We know that these numbers are accurate. So, you know, the rest is kind of a very educated guess, and it shouldn't be that far off. So we'll see what happens. So I've been watching this page like a hawk because this is basically the only information we get throughout the entire month. You know, what we use per day, and we can break it down per day to see what hours we used, but that's basically it. And this gives us a good idea of what we used per day and you know, temperatures for that day. So clearly on the cooler days we're using more. But anyway, this is set to bill cycle, and it's supposed to show you the first day of the bill cycle, which was February 8th, to the last day of the bill cycle, which I assumed would have been March the 7th. But on March the 8th, it added March 8th. And on March the 9th, it added March 9th. And I'm like, what is it doing? Duke Energy does not get in any hurry about generating a bill. It is currently the 12th. And we've just now been told the dollar amount, but we still can't see the breakdown of how many kilowatt hour we used in each billing rate. So we're going to wait on that. But we'll talk about this for now until that information comes out. So to give you some reference, and I really hate this because the website shows you nothing. You don't really get any of this information to break it down. But on the mobile app, I do get a little more information that kind of breaks it down and tells me, you know, you use this and whatever. So this picture here you're looking at shows you the current usage for February's bill. This was before we moved to the new rate. And as you can see, we were nearly 3,000 kilowatt hour for the month. In March, on the app, it shows me that we used 2,781.7 kilowatt hour for the month. So about 140-ish kilowatt hour less than last month. I really don't think we changed anything about our usage that made us use less power, but we did in turn use less. Also important to note that this billing cycle is only 28 days and the last billing cycle was like 30. So we did get a little bit of, you know, cut back from that as well. At the old power rate, that would have amounted to maybe $15 in savings. So the power bill would have gone down $15-ish. With this less amount of usage. So there's a little reference for you. And now let's look at the bill for last month. So the bill came to $392 with tax. $367 is what you can assume, the bill was per kilowatt hour. There is a $14 service charge. It's like a connection fee just to be connected to the grid that is added on top of the usage. And then there's also riders that we're paying and, cost recovery, whatever. They have a bunch of stupid fees. So, but we can look at that and say, almost $400 for almost 3,000 kilowatt hours for the month. And that's a lot. Yeah. So before we look at the total, we'll talk about, how I've been following this strict schedule for the past month, trying to make sure the car's charged during the most efficient hours, the cheapest hours, and we minimize our usage as much as possible during the most expensive hours. And we really haven't cut our usage down. We're just shifting it to times where we would use when it's cheaper. All my batteries in my house for this month now, for April's billing cycle, I have programmed them to stay off even longer and only charge during super off peak. So just like my cars, so that will potentially save more as well in the coming month, but we'll see about that. So we know that the usage was only about 150 kilowatt hour less than the previous month. We know that the previous month was almost $400. Has our hard work paid off? Have we actually saved any money this month by switching to the flex savings option and shifting our usage, doing everything we can? The suspense is killing you. I know. It's moving very slowly. I'm watching it move as I talk. I was like, I don't actually have that much to say for this thing to. I'm happy to report we did save some money this month, switching to this new plan. And I don't want to wait for it either, so let's just do it. $274 for the month. A savings of almost $120. And if you account for the save $15, I think I already did in that math. I don't remember how I did it now. I think it was, well, we'll just say almost $120 in savings. And maybe that can fluctuate a little because, we had shorter billing for the month. But definitely worth it. Definitely helped. I mean, we were seeing $300 and $400 a month bills. That was regular. We've never been under 300 in the past year. This drives me to want to do better. I want to try harder next month now and just see what's it going to look like. What can we do? But I'm not going to end the video here. We will come back in a couple of days when I get that full bill breakdown showing usage in each time category and what it came down to. And we'll go over that before we call it a day. It is literally the next day and this bill has generated. And I don't know what I really expected here. I was really hoping for more information. I don't know. But it just gives you a monthly summary. It does not, I don't know. From what I was expecting, I was hoping for a full page graph showing, each day of the month and how much you used per day and what rate it was billed at. And no, don't get that. So you get this, which we kind of already knew all of this ish. I mean, I guess not. I guess if you had done it individually day by day, you would have known. But anyway, total usage 2,781 kilowatt hours. We've seen that on the thing that I read earlier to you. Critical peak is when it's like 40 some cent per kilowatt hour. So we used 1.4. That's about what I expected on that. We could have done better, but whatever. And then on peak, we used a total of 37. That's a little higher than I expected it to have been, but it, next month it will go down because we've made some changes that will reflect on that. Your off peak, which is the biggest part of the day, 1,029 kilowatt hours. And I don't know why it measures it twice here, but discount, and they're both exactly the same, 1,713. That would be your super off peak, I guess you'd say. And that's it. That's the information they give you. And then the next slide here, they break it down by price. So instead of telling me, like the actual charge per whatever, they just say, this is what you're charged for this. So your basic customer charge, you pay this just to be connected to the grid. It's $14. Critical peak, that little bit of usage came out to 59 cents. So I guess you can kind of do the math on that and figure out what the per kilowatt hour thing was. I will do that after the video because I want to make sure it all matches. Your on peak charge, so the most expensive part of the day, $8.50, not horrible. Then you got your off peak at $103, and then your discount at $124. And then here's where you see all your riders, your recovery fees, your whatever, which aren't crazy expensive. So that came to $256. The difference there, I think, was like $15 basically, which is your taxes. So that's not shown here. Taxes is in a different form, and I was like, I don't need to show that. It just says taxes. So yeah, that's that. That's the breakdown you get. Not a whole lot of information, but the whole point was to say, yep, we definitely saved doing this. We definitely saved moving to this cheaper plan, or this. It's not necessarily a cheaper plan if you don't follow the rules and do what you're supposed to do. But we're going to try to get it even lower next month. I'm not going to lower my usage by any means. If I need to go somewhere in my truck, I'm going to get in my truck and I'm going to go. And I'm not going to supercharge to try to avoid my power bill. No. I'm going to come home at 3%. I'm going to plug in like I always do. So my usage may actually be higher next month, but the goal is to better shift away more of the on peak, and if there is any critical peak, they don't tell you till the day before it actually happens. So usually you can look at the weather, and if the temperature gets in the teens or lower, it's going to be a critical peak day. That's how they do it. And I'm assuming it'll be the same thing in the summer. If the temperature gets to 100 or higher, it's going to be a critical peak day. So you just got to pay attention during those days. I will say we are a little concerned about how we're going to shift our power usage during the summer. In the summer, they will move us to 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for critical peak or on peak hours. And right now it's 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. So it's really not hard to shift usage. I mean, there's nothing happens. Matter of fact, as I'm recording this, my battery is sitting here charging because it ran the entire time during that peak hour. So it's not hard to shift usage. We're using like 0.3 kilowatt hour per hour during that time frame. In the summer, I think it's going to be a lot harder because you're in the middle of the day or the afternoon, 6 to 9 p.m. I mean, you're cooking dinner, you're doing whatever it is you need to do throughout the day. And we're going to have to really figure out how to maximize savings on that. I'm half tempted to go ahead and buy the smart power panel through Anker and go ahead and wire my batteries in to the whole house. That way, technically they could run the whole house. Right now, they're set up in UPS mode. One runs my refrigerator and the other one runs my entire office. And I would have to move both of those to the power panel in order to wire it in as a permanent setup. But with a permanent setup, it could shift the entire house to battery during those 3 hours so that it ensures, we're not hitting that critical peak or whatever, or just on peak. It would also work in a power outage, but it's not, just doing those few things that I had it doing. It's doing the whole house, which probably would make them not last as long because, going to be a lot more usage. So I don't know. It's a thought. It's an idea. It's $1,000 plus a lot of work. So probably not. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. We may just walk into it with the current setup we have and see how bad it is. But I fully expect our usage in the summer to be higher than it is now in the winter. In the winter, we can set up our air conditioner to heat up the house a little extra before the peak hours and then turn off the heat entirely, and the house maintains that temperature. In the summer, it's going to be hot, and in the summer, we tend to have a hard time maintaining temperature in our house. Our air conditioner runs all day during the sun hours when the sun's out, and it catches up usually about 2 hours after the sun goes down, and it turns off. We have a real hard time maintaining temperature in the summer. And if we're having to stop that air conditioner at 6 p.m. in order to not burn through our savings, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be uncomfortable, and is it gonna be worth it? I don't know. We can't switch back and forth between our old rate and this new rate when summer and winter comes. We can do it once a year. We can switch back and forth once a year. So it's not, I can't go back to the old rate until October and then jump back to the new rate when we're on the winter rates. So it won't work. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. A little nervous about it. We'll see what happens, but for now, at least until the end of April, I think is winter rates. So we'll wait and see. But that's what we did this month. Maybe I'll do a little follow up next month and see if we were any cheaper, and see what we can do.